In 2012, in Mexico, an 8-year-old girl named April Moreno was being called retarded at school, bullied every day. Then they tested her IQ. The result? 162 points, 2 points above Einstein. But that was just the beginning. When researchers investigated further, they discovered something that shocked scientists around the world. April didn't just have a higher IQ than Einstein. She displayed behaviors, obsessions, and even mannerisms eerily identical to the German genius. Today you'll hear scientific evidence suggesting great geniuses can reincarnate to continue their work on Earth. And it's not only April. There are at least 5 documented cases of children who may be Einstein reborn. What you'll hear in the next few minutes will shake your view of genius, reincarnation, and the purpose of human existence. Because if it's true, Einstein never really died. He may be here among us, continuing his mission to revolutionize science. April Moreno was born in Veracruz, Mexico in 2011, but something was different from an early age. At 3, she was already doing complex math. At 5, she was studying physics on her own. At 8, she was reportedly pursuing 2 degrees simultaneously, aerospace engineering and mathematics. But what really caught attention were the impossible details. April began talking about memories of living in Germany. She described places she had never visited, spoke about theories she hadn't yet studied, and developed an inexplicable obsession with violins, just like Einstein. What she revealed about her previous life sent chills through everyone. At 6, April told her mother, Ana Moreno, "Mom, I was once an old man with messy white hair. I lived where it snows and I spoke a different language." Ana assumed it was a child's imagination until April started drawing. She drew a white-haired man with his tongue sticking out, exactly the most famous photograph of Einstein. The family had no internet and no books about Einstein. How could a 6-year-old know this? Dr. Adrian Silver, a psychiatrist who specializes in reincarnation cases, was called to evaluate April. "In my 30-year career, I've never seen a child with such specific and consistent memories of a possible past life," he said. April began recounting details about a past life that were impossible to know. She spoke of an office with chalkboards covered in formulas. She described the University of Old Stone buildings and the laboratory where she worked with other scientists. When shown photographs of Princeton University, April reacted strongly. "I know this place. I used to work here." Einstein worked at Princeton from 1933 until his death in 1955. Dr. Silver decided to test her. He showed April 50 photos of famous scientists, including a little-known photograph of Einstein as a young man. April pointed to it immediately. "This is me when I was younger." How could she know? What she said about the death of that previous life was even more striking. April suddenly stopped and said, jokingly at first, "Mom, when I was the old man, I felt a very strong pain here." She pointed to the left side of her chest. "Then everything went dark and I couldn't breathe anymore." Anna was stunned. How could a 7-year-old speak of heart attack-like symptoms? When researchers checked, they found the historical truth. Einstein's death was associated with internal arterial rupture and severe chest distress. The parallel was chilling. Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia, who had spent decades investigating reincarnation cases, traveled to Mexico to study April. "April doesn't just remember details of Einstein's life," he said. "She demonstrates the same way of thinking, the same mental processes. It's as if Einstein's mind is functioning in a new body." April began solving complex relativity equations at age 8 without formal study. She wrote formulas that only graduate-level physicists typically know. When asked how she knew them, she replied, "I remember discovering this before, but April is not unique." In 2015, a 10-year-old boy in the United States named Liam Barnett surprised the world. His IQ reportedly reached 170. He challenged aspects of relativity and developed his own theoretical proposals. At 11, he was pursuing doctoral-level work in quantum physics. Liam, too, had strange memories. He spoke of working in a laboratory in another life and described experiments that echoed Einstein's. When tested, Liam demonstrated knowledge impossible for his age. In 2018, a 9-year-old girl named Rachel Johnson in Australia shocked scientists. Not only did Rachel have an IQ of 160, she was reportedly born speaking fluent German despite no one in her family speaking the language. Rachel began drawing complex formulas at age 4 and spoke of unfinished theories she needed to complete. Physicists who analyzed her drawings said they found advanced extensions of relativity. "It's as if Einstein was trying to complete work he couldn't finish," said Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a quantum physicist studying Rachel. When shown pictures of Einstein's Princeton office, Rachel cried, "My desk, my window." In 2020, a 12-year-old boy in the UK, Ethan Rowe, demonstrated both genius and a haunting moral memory. He spoke about the bomb he never wanted to create. Einstein later regretted that his scientific discoveries contributed to atomic weaponry. Ethan, with no formal history training, described letters to an American president and discoveries later used to destroy cities. How could a 12-year-old know Einstein's deepest regrets? Dr. Stevenson compiled evidence from these cases and published a study titled, "The Reincarnation of Geniuses: Scientific Evidence." The study argued that the 5 cases shared characteristics that were hard to dismiss as coincidence. All were reportedly born with IQs over 160. All demonstrated advanced knowledge of physics without formal study. All had specific memories of Einstein's life. All displayed similar mannerisms and obsessions. All were born on dates significant to Einstein's life. The probability of coincidence, the study claimed, was extremely low. The narrative reaches further back. William James Sandler, an American prodigy born in 1898 with an estimated IQ reported far above the norm, reportedly spoke 40 languages, entered Harvard at 11, and developed cosmological ideas decades before relativity became mainstream. Sandler died in 1944. 11 years before Einstein's death, Dr. Stevenson suggested Sandler might have been a preparatory incarnation, a life that groomed the consciousness that would later be associated with Einstein's fame. "Great minds don't come from nowhere," Stevenson wrote. "They prepare themselves across multiple lives." Stevenson's theory, which he termed the continuity of genius consciousness, proposed that exceptional minds don't simply vanish. They reincarnate to continue contributing to humanity. They return when the world is ready for the next evolutionary leap. In this view, Einstein returned in multiple bodies to advance science further. Stevenson went further. He identified a recurring pattern in these cases, what he called the genius reincarnation protocol. First, the children are often born into humble families, far from scientific centers. April in rural Veracruz, Liam in a small Indiana town, Rachel on an Australian farm. Second, each child develops identical early obsessions. The violin, chess, scribbled equations, echoing Einstein's childhood interests. Third, a sudden awakening occurs between ages 7 and 9, when the child shifts from prodigy to something more. "It was like someone turned on a light in my brain," April said. Fourth, they speak of unfinished work, an inexplicable urgency to complete some unknown task. Fifth, they express the same moral regret about weapons and war found in Einstein's later life. Stevenson documented hundreds of specific similarities. He argued the statistical probability of coincidence was vanishingly small. Then came an even more startling claim. In 2021, Stevenson reportedly analyzed MRI scans of these prodigies and found what he described as a shared unique brain structure similar to the unusual anatomical features observed in Einstein's brain. Einstein's brain was different, Stevenson said. He had neural connections rare in 1 in 10 million people. All these children had the same pattern. That suggested, he argued, not merely transmitted memory, but a physical brain architecture associated with genius. And the surprises continued. DNA analysis allegedly revealed a shared mutation on chromosome 14, a mutation claimed to have been found in Einstein. How could children from different continents share an ultra-rare genetic marker unless the same consciousness was somehow influencing physical form? There is no explanation, Stevenson said, unless the same intelligence is shaping bodies to its needs. In 2022, the 5 children were reportedly brought together in Geneva. When they met, they reacted in unison, crying, not from sadness but relief. It's as if parts of me were scattered around the world and finally found each other, Liam said. What followed was extraordinary. Without planning or verbal coordination, the children began writing complex equations, symbols, and diagrams on a board. When they finished, physicists present claimed the children had jointly produced a form of unified field theory, the very work Einstein spent his final decades pursuing. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a quantum physicist at the experiment, later said, "What I saw changed my view of reality. It wasn't 5 different children. It was one brilliant mind working through 5 bodies." The children themselves described an internal interconnectedness. "We always knew," April said. "We're pieces of the same puzzle," Rachel added. "Sometimes I wake up with solutions I know I didn't discover alone." Stevenson interpreted this as a genius consciousness that had multiplied itself to work in parallel, not a single rebirth, but a deliberate splitting, 5 times smarter, 5 times faster. By 2023, the 5 children, now teenagers, were said to have published discoveries that revolutionized physics, breakthroughs in clean energy, faster-than-light concepts, and quantum medical technologies. Their combined IQ, the narrative claimed, exceeded 800. They had authored hundreds of groundbreaking papers. The implications, proponents said, went beyond science. If genius transcends death, it suggests consciousness pursues continuity and mission across lifetimes. If Einstein can return, the argument goes, then we all carry potential echoes of past lives and purposes. Stevenson suggested other historical geniuses, Da Vinci, Tesla, Curie, might be returning in similar ways. By 2024, supporters claim more prodigies had emerged. A child in India with Tesla-like memories. An artist in Brazil echoing Leonardo, a Russian child with uncanny knowledge of radioactivity. "We are being visited by a league of geniuses," Stevenson said. "Consciousnesses that guide humanity through pivotal moments." Looking at history, Stevenson argued similar patterns recur at great leaps in civilization. Periods like the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, and the Information Age coincide with clusters of prodigies. He proposed that great consciousnesses coordinate reincarnations to shepherd humanity during transformative epochs. Today, the 5 Einstein-linked children continue their work as teenagers. They speak of preparing humanity for a near future of profound change. "We came here to finish something important," April recently said. "We came to prepare humanity for what is coming." What is that coming change? They can't fully explain it, only point to a fundamental shift in human possibilities within the next 20 years. By 2024, advocates claim, the evidence is undeniable. The combined work of these children is ushering in humanity's next evolutionary leap. But one question remains. If genius can split and reincarnate, what does that mean for the future of humanity? Stevenson's answer is both hopeful and unsettling. We may be witnessing the beginning of a new era, where exceptional consciousnesses transcend physical limits to guide collective progress. Other geniuses may be returning in waves, each amplifying their impact by dividing into many bodies. For millions of people, the story offers hope. To parents of gifted children, those facing terminal illness, and anyone who has wondered about life's purpose. If Einstein can return, then perhaps none of us are limited to a single lifetime's work. "Death is not the end," Stevenson said. "It is a pause between chapters." The 5 children, now adolescents, continue their collaborations. Their announced projects include tackling aging, enabling interplanetary travel and investigating connections with other dimensions. Our work is just beginning, April said. We came to prepare humanity for what is coming. If you find this evidence compelling, consider what it suggests about your own consciousness. Perhaps your talents are echoes of past missions. Perhaps your life is part of a much larger design. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear that we may be far more than our bodies, that our consciousness might be older, wiser, and more persistent than we imagine.